If you've ever ended up with more carrots than you know what to do with, or you just want a quick, nutritious veggie off the shelf, then this video is for you. Hello friends, and welcome back to Plan and Preserve. I'm Brenda, and today we are pressure canning carrots. This is one of the easiest shelf-stable vegetables you can do. I'll walk you through how I prepare them, process them, and flavor them. We're doing two ways today, savory and sweet. So let's get started. Here are our carrots. What you need to do in preparing them is peel, cut them into coins or strips, chunks or sticks, wash them thoroughly. And there's a parboil method or a raw, and we're doing the raw pack method today. I like to cut mine in coin shapes for even cooking, but sticks are great too. And if you find a good deal on the baby carrots in the store, like, I don't know, 3 bags for $4 or whatever the deal, buy one get 40 free or whatever that is, voila, all that heavy lifting is already done for you. So we're going to start getting this going. Our flavors today are savory and sweet. We like them both cooked both ways. Let me know in the comments how you like your carrots done, but sometimes you want a little savory. So the sweet we're going to do with some brown sugar. I found a onion soup mix recipe online that I'm going to tweak just a little bit today. We're going to do those. So this one is going to have, the recipe I found has minced onions, some powdered onion, beef bouillon, a little bit of, just a tiny bit of sugar and black pepper. It called for celery seed, and I'm going with, I'm going to be a little bold today, and I'm going with this real salt hickory smoke salt. It smells amazing. It called for a 1/4 teaspoon of celery seed, and I don't know, I didn't think that sounded like onion soup mix to me, so we're going to try this. This is in my cabinet. I've been dying to try it, so here we go. Also, on the sweet one, Ball's Blue Candy Book has a recipe for glazed carrots. It calls for brown sugar and orange juice. I don't have orange juice, so you use what you have. That's my motto. Well, one of my mottos anyway. But use what you have. Before we get into the whole processing part, I just want to have a little table chat here with you. According to the Complete Guide to Home Canning, it's online. I just wanted to read this to you. You can do carrots sliced or diced. I already mentioned you can slice them or dice or coin them. The method they approve of is wash, peel, rewash, slice or dice. Hot pack is you put them in boiling water for 5 minutes, or raw pack. So let's talk about raw pack. What par cooking them, or what we refer to sometimes as blanching, that just helps to release some of the liquids in the carrots so that when you put them in there you have more room. But sometimes I just like to make it easy, and raw packing is fine with me. So I'm gonna fill my jars tightly with the carrots, leaving a 1-inch headspace. You can add 1 teaspoon of salt per quart to the jar, so that would be a 1/2 teaspoon per pint or less, or whatever you're comfortable with. And then you add your hot liquid, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. Then for raw or hot pack, whichever one you do, you're still going to process pints for 25 minutes in the pressure canner, or quarts for 30 minutes. And that may vary based on your elevation, and you need to refer to your pressure canning handbook or manual to know what to do with that. So before we get started, I was gifted a bag of carrots. When was that? Saturday. It wound up being 10 pounds. When I got home, I weighed them 10. Sunday we had plans. Tuesday we were out of town. Here it is Wednesday. And they were starting to go bad, but that's as soon as I could get to them. Sometimes it is what it is. So what I did yesterday afternoon, while I got dinner cooking, I peeled them and cut off the ends and the bad parts, and got them in a big old colander, washed them, and just let them sit there. And we ate and got the kitchen all cleaned up. Then I cut them up. So I just worked in my schedule the best I could do. Some days you just don't have a day to dedicate to whatever you're going to do. And then I put them in a cooler with some ice in this big container which this came from my company I had, Blue Hill company I had. If you can't get I mean, I would recommend you could get some of these. These come in handy, especially when you're processing large batches of anything. It even makes a great, if you have sorry, I get sidetracked, squirrel. If you got a big company coming over and you need a lot of tea made ahead of time, you can use these for almost anything. So anyway, after all that, I wound up with 7.5 pounds of carrots for processing. Now, according to the National Food Preservation, they say an average of 17.5 pounds without the tops is needed for 7 quarts. So if you want to do a canner load of 7 quarts, you need 17.5 pounds of carrots. If you're doing a canner load of pints, which is normally 9, you need 11 pounds. I have 7.5 pounds, so I'm not going to have quite, they say, a canner load. I've also found that these aren't always accurate. So they say on average, you need 2.5 pounds per quart. So 1.25 pounds per pint. We'll see what we get. Now, because I don't have 17.5 pounds and I don't have, or 11, I have less. What I do is I'll get my jars filled since I'm doing the raw pack, see how many jars I have, and then I'll develop my herbs and broth to half it. So we will get these filled in jars and then we'll be back when I get that done to determine how we're going to calculate our broth and our syrup. Before we go, because this has measurements and we're about 5 quarts, almost 5 quarts. So I'm going to say we're going to need 10 pints. We'll see how it turns out. Alrighty, I have laid out 12 jars. We'll see what we get. What I like to do is get a thick cloth and then just kind of tap them, and they're about a head inches space. Here we go. All right, I'll bring you back when we have them all filled. All right, we actually got 14 pints. We got 4 jars more than I anticipated. All right, so that's 7 and 7. So let's go 6 and 7. So here's my 2 different flavoring batches. Now, how I figure these out is a lot of masses, solids, are taking up a lot of space, and these jars hold 2 cups. So I'm going to figure at least a cup for each jar. So that's 7 cups. And then I'm gonna make, sometimes it fools me, I'm gonna make 9 cups of syrup and broth. If I have some left over, so be it. When I calculate this up, I am so off. So these carrots are taking up a lot of space. I did some coleslaw here a couple months ago, and I thought I had it because it was a lot in there. I wound up having to make 2 more small batches. I'm gonna err on the more than the less. So we're gonna go 7, 8, 9 cups of syrup and 9 cups of onion soup broth. So we'll bring you back in just a second. Okay, Ball's Blue Book on their glazed carrots. This calls for 69 pounds of carrots, and that would be 6 pints or 3 quarts. You can see we're off, right? They call for 2 cups of brown sugar, 2 cups of water, and a cup of orange juice. Bring that to a boil, sugar dissolves, but we're not going to do that much. I'm going to do 1 cup of brown sugar per 3 cups of water because I don't want them that sweet. You can always sweeten them later if you need more sweet. So we're going to make that, what did I say, a cup of brown sugar, 3 cups of water. I hope I have enough pans to do this today. Let me go get some water. We are on city water, so I'll go buy a bunch of filtered water at the store. You can get it pretty cheap for the refills, or we have a Berkey, but our Berkey sometimes can't keep up with. Alrighty, how many just caught my mistake? If you caught it, leave it in the comments. So here's 8 cups of water, 9 cups of water. Alrighty, we're gonna do 3 cups of brown sugar. Hopefully I have enough brown sugar. If not, I ain't putting any more of this in it. Again, brown sugar is one of those things that you can easily make when you don't have any on hand. In fact, I dare say you could make it to the actual recipe that you need. It might be take a little bit more effort. I say effort because it's sugar and molasses, and if you needed a cup of brown sugar, you would, might be hard to mix some molasses in, but it definitely could be done. So there's 1 loose cup. Here's 2 loose cups. I have this much left, and that's all I'm going to do. That's all I have. I could, in fact, I think I will, because I can do what I want to do. This is my recipe. This is my canning my way. Hold on. Ta-da! I'm going to put in a little bit of maple syrup, just to kind of give it that. I'm just going to do a half a cup. I don't want this real sweet. So this is brown sugar and maple glazed carrots. I'm gonna bring this to a boil on the stove, and I'll be back and we'll get the other one going. All right, this recipe calls, I don't know what it calls for. So I'm just gonna make a batch. I already pre-measured my water in this pot. I'm just gonna see what we come up with this first batch of soup mix. Calls for a 1/4 cup of minced onions, and then it calls for 2 tablespoons of onion powder. Let me take this a little bit more. Okay, then it calls for 2 tablespoons of beef bouillon, and I just messed up. This does not call for 2 tablespoons of onion powder, so take as much as I can get out of here. All right, that's probably a tablespoon, and it called for a teaspoon. It's gonna be oniony. I'm just gonna go with it. Well, let me dig out a little bit more. I don't want it to be too oniony. See, even the experienced canners mess up sometimes. Okay, 2 tablespoons of beef bouillon. And then I need 1/4 teaspoon. Looks about like that. Okay, pinch. There we go. Like I said, I don't know how much it's supposed to make. I didn't even look at the recipe. I just looked at the ingredients. I'm like, that sounds good. So I think this will be savory enough. I don't want it like overpowering. All right, let's get that on the stove and boiling. That looks good. It's a good clear. Okay. Here we go. Taste test it. I think this is perfect. It is got a little bit of onion in it, that's for sure. Yeah, I think that'll work. I would definitely not stump my toe on the onion powder next time. But this will be good because what I tend to use these for are the savory. I'll use, let me get this on the stove. What I tend to use these for is like if I cook a roast or a soup or something, these savory ones will go in there. And then I'll make a note on my candy lid, onion with onion plus, and that'll let me know that it's got a little more onion than normal. And then the savories, they're just mainly for a side dish. Now, one of the things you can do is just do it in plain water with some salt. You can adjust things. You don't even have to put salt in there. You know, salt adds a little flavor. But you can make this, you could can your own carrots, and for baby food, for dog food, if you make your own dog food, we make our own dog food. We don't use carrots. I've seen recipes with carrots, but yeah, it's very versatile. So we'll be back when we're ready to pour in our broth, and we'll see how we calculated. All right, let's have another table chat while we are waiting for our syrup and our broth to come up to a boil. Let's talk about cost per jar. These are free. Other than some seasonings, I don't count spices and things when I'm making this, because usually you saw I'm using minute pieces or minute volumes of seasonings. Now, when I was at Blue Hill, you better believe I would calculate my recipe, how many cups of sugar, 25-pound bag costs X, and I had it down to a science. In fact, we were working with a grocery chain to get our pepper jams in, and they were beating us up on the price. I was literally shaving pennies off of what could I do? How can I save a penny here, a penny there to get the price down? We never could do it. I don't know how. Of course, it's volumes. And high fructose corn syrup, all that stuff is fairly cheap. So when you're looking at buying jams and jellies in the store, they have some of the natural flavors and some fruit juices in it, but yeah, the volume in there is the unhealthy stuff. So anyway, that's the nerd in me, which helped us with our company, because you know, if you don't know the cost to produce something, you don't know how to price it. You definitely want to make money, and it's just not the material, the raw material in your product. You've got overhead, labor, lights, insurance, you got all the overhead. And so at some point you have to make a profit or you're going to go out of business. So I just wasn't going to take a loss or just barely make a profit with Snooks. I got on a rant, I apologize. Anyway, the carrots are free. So in the jars are an investment. So this canning session, I have 14 jars of vegetables on my shelf. Stable. I can get with pints, I can get a double layer in my Presto canner. So I only have to do 1 pressure canner today. So we'll bring you back when we start to fill the jars. So thanks for the chat. Alrighty, we are ready to start pouring in our liquids. So let's go with the savory first. What I'm going to do is pour a little bit in each one because these onions are on top and I want to get some in every jar. We don't want to overdo it with the onions. Okay, here we go. Okay, so, whoops, I need some in here. I couldn't tell. Alrighty, I'm going to debubble, and as you debubble, you're probably going to have to add more liquid. Anyway, I tasted this on as it cooked. The flavors tasted way better. It wasn't as onion strong as I thought it was going to be. I decided it was fine. All right. Guess what? We are almost an inch of Headspace in all these jars. And I had some to spare. Hallelujah. So just try to get juice in here. So I'll measure that off and we'll talk about that in a minute. So I would say it did about a pint. It looks like I may have about a couple cups left over there. So let me get the lids on here. And these don't have anything sticky, so I'm just doing it with some water. It's pretty good about not getting anything on the rims. Why this was coming up to temperature, I had my canner bringing it up slowly on my camp stove on my back porch. These carrots are really going to be good. I'm looking forward to them. The broth did taste like Lipton's onion soup mix in the store. So there you go. We get those. Now, let me pour this off. Now, this maple brown sugar smells amazing. It's dark and it tasted amazing when I tried it. It's going to be perfect. It wasn't too sweet. I find pouring it slow, it kind of helps with the bubble, not form a lot of bubbles on the bottom. Just kind of gets into all the crevices. All right. I also rinsed off my tools. I don't know if you can tell. Bring you closer over here. As I debubble them, the liquid level goes down on them. So now we'll top them off. Okay. That's pretty good not to get anything on the rims. We'll just wipe it off really quick. Stay tuned because I'm going to show you a secret here in just a second that you might not ever thought about. We'll finish doing this and I'll bring you back. Alrighty, here's my secret. My leftover syrup. I had quite a bit. So we over-calculated, but what I can do and what I'm going to do is just process these jars in my Instapot. And there I've saved. Ready, we got our onion broth. Actually, I overdid it by 4 cups. Just didn't get quite 2 pints. We gotta save these onions now. And there you have it. So we got 4 from 9. We could got by with 5 cups. So I'll put these in the Instapot in a minute. Let me get these in the pressure while they're still hot and we'll be back. This is why I love my Instapot pressure canner. It is the Instapot that has the canning feature. Not pressure cook, but canning. And we're going to do this for, he said 20 minutes. Okay. And then I can only do pints in here and the wide mouth actually worked better. And I need 1/4 of the way up from the jars. I'm pouring hot water in here. I need more hot water. That looks good. My lid on it, canning, 20 minutes, and the pressure canner is going. I do love the electric. Oh, I know a lot of people can't afford all those extra appliances and things, and I don't even know if they make the Instapot Duo Max. That's the one that has the canning feature on it. Presto makes an electric canner and it's on my wish list. One of these days I'm gonna get me one because here's the reason why I love those two. We're empty nesters, just me and my husband. And a lot of times, like it's gonna take a while for us to go through 14 jars of carrots and that's okay because they'll stay on the shelf for a couple years. But sometimes you just have a little bit of something that instead of throwing it away or throw it in the freezer and you forget to label it and now you don't know what it is, you can can it and save your freezer space. So now I have 2 jars of brown sugar maple syrup and I have 2 jars of Lipton onion soup broth. Now you may wonder, what are you going to do with those? Well, they can come in handy, and so the onion thing, I could throw it in when I'm throwing together some soup, like my beef stew. I did a video last week on a beef stew and some vegetables as a base. I can dump some of that delicious onion broth in that soup base. I could also, when I'm cooking a roast, after the roast is done, I can drain the juice off of my roast into that and make my gravy. So there's lots of things you could do with that. And then the maple one, that might be a little bit more challenging, but say you don't want to open a jar of your baby carrots and you have carrots you bought or somebody gave you some more, then you can just open a jar of that. It's already seasoned and cook your carrots in that, or any other sweet potatoes. Let's see what else you could do. You could use that in a base, a marinade for some, I don't know, wings or chicken or something like that. You could use some of that. Anyway, I'm sure you can get creative. In fact, what would you do if you had those 2 jars left over of broth and syrup? What would you do with them? Leave it in the comments, and let's all share our ideas and learn from each other. So we'll be back once this is through, once we're done canning. The canning process, I didn't want to go through the whole thing here. There's so many videos on how to can, but briefly, you bring your pressure canner up to heat where steam is coming out vigorously and steady. You time it for 10 minutes. You put your weight on it. There's jiggler weights and there's a pressure gauge. I'll show you my canner here when it's ready. And then it starts coming up to pressure. And then when it gets to the pressure or the jiggle or the amount on the gauge, we live almost at sea level down here in South Georgia. So I'm going to process at 10 pounds of pressure with my Presto. But anyway, I'll come back when my canner is steaming and show you what I'm talking about, and we'll go from there. The other thing I like about this canner is you can see the temperature climbing. This is the progress line. Once it hits this middle bar of dots, that should be at least 240 for the pressure cycle. And I did correct it. I stopped it and I corrected it to 25 minutes. Alrighty, you can see the steam is starting to kind of shoot out of there, little pockets of steam. I think you can see that there in the middle of the screen. When that becomes a steady stream, we're going to set our timer for 10 minutes. Our steam is getting stronger. We're almost to the point where we have a steady stream. We have a steady stream of steam. Maybe on camera you can't see it, but it's steady coming out. It's not stopping. So I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes now. We've processed our carrots. They turned out beautiful. I had 0 siphoning, which is amazing. You always want to have 0 siphoning. But I wanted to just jump back real quick and talk about those savory carrots. As I was processing, my mind went to, oh, you got onions in those carrots. That could change things. So I went and did some research, and according to Ball's Home Preserving Complete Book, there was nothing in here. Nada. So I did some more research, and I found on a couple of YouTube channels, Linda's Pantry. She's another amazing YouTube canner that I've followed for years. Back in January, she posted where she used Lipton onion soup mix. I was 1 or 2 tablespoons per pint. I can't remember exactly now, but she did use Lipton onion soup mix, and she did process for 25 minutes. It was in her book, which is a previous edition. Mine is the new and improved. Hers was on page, I think, 389, and so I like, not on my page 389. So anyway, and there was a couple other videos that showed processing carrots with French onion soup. So I felt a little bit more comfortable because it was an approved. Why Ball removed it from their revised edition, I don't know. But anyway, I feel comfortable with that. And so I also want to make a disclaimer that I try to go by the rules. But I'm not a big rebel canner. I try to stick by the rules, and sometimes I may skirt the line a little bit, but that's because I feel comfortable with it, the knowledge I have of it, and so I'm not here to teach you how to can. I'm here to just encourage you and inspire you of the possibilities of home preservation and preserving well and planning smart. So if you like this video, you found information useful, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to like and subscribe for any notifications of future videos. So plan smart, preserve well, and we'll see you in the next video.